I ain't go lie, man. Seeing a video title like this is really tripping me the hell out. All right, this is what the title says. Why Crips and Bloods never tried forcing Michael Jackson to check in. Now, if you guys don't know what check in means, it's when you visit, like a lot of these rappers, when they come to LA, and some of these dudes, they might have security, but they show up, they got these big old chains and all this stuff. If you're going, and I mean, I know it's happened for a while, but it really got heightened when it was the whole East Coast West Coast thing. But if you're going to be visiting LA, it's like it's somebody you need to call and let them know, because if you don't, people will feel they have the green light to rob you. You hear a lot of rappers, I know The Game talked about it, like when Ice Cube say, when you come to LA, watch those loud colors. You got to know, if you're in this neighborhood, you can't be wearing blue. If you're over here, you can't be wearing red. But you would think like, damn, this is Michael Jackson. What they gonna do to Michael Jackson, But yeah, I got to see what the hell this is, man. It's really tripping me out. So we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
The other police and me, we talked, and he said, man, Michael Jackson want to do a video, and he want real gang members. And do you and some of your homies want to do it?
So I remember when I found out that it was Van Halen in the Beat It solo. I was today years old when I found out that those were real gang members in the Michael Jackson video. I thought these were like dancers that just dressed up. Comment and be honest if you knew this. Wow. I wonder, what did Weird Al do? Did he get real gangsters too?
I say, yeah.
You definitively said that Michael Jackson was a Crip.
I didn't know if he was being serious, but you seemed serious when you said it.
Quick.
I've always been curious about on Better on the Other Side, your tribute to Michael Jackson. You mentioned that MJ called you up and
try to squash the beef with me and 50?
Yeah.
No one ever made Michael Jackson check in. Not the Crips, not the Bloods, because both sides saw his intent. Michael Jackson's ties to the Crips and Bloods weren't rooted in crime or gang allegiance. They were about peace.
This is crazy.
Crips and Bloods who wants to be in Michael's video. But Michael said, I'll get them, Bob. I'll get them.
By casting real gang members in Beat It and easing rival tensions, he earned rare respect.
Michael Jackson was a Crip, like he really was a Crip.
The rumors of deeper affiliations persist. No one ever made him check in. Both sides saw his intent. This video explores how MJ built that respect, the key moments, who backed him, and why he was never challenged. Discover the underrated influence Michael Jackson had beyond music. Chapter 1. Lost.
See, I'm gonna let them talk about it, but when you say that, it makes me think of like Chris Brown, because I don't believe Chris Brown's a true blood in the sense that he's from this hood. I just think this is the hood that he's good with. So wherever he goes, those are ones that, protect him. But like, gang banging ain't like it used to be. I'll just say that. You got a lot of people wearing rags, but it's who they protected by. But unless, like, because when you say you from somewhere, this means like you actually got jumped in. They circled around you, and just like you do in football when you put the pads on and you went head up with a few dudes. I don't see that happening. I look at it more like you done gave a stack of money to somebody and be like, yo, I need y'all protection. That's what I feel like. Let's see.
Angeles gangs, a turf war. Between the late 1970s and early 2000s, Los Angeles became one of the most visible battlegrounds of gang-related violence in the United States.
Yes.
Two major street organizations dominated headlines and shaped the daily lives of countless residents, the Crips and the
It's
Bloods.
stupid, man.
There's a war going on
It's
in
stupid.
South Central.
The Crips, initially formed in South Central Los Angeles in 1969 by Raymond Washington and later expanded by figures such as Stanley Tookie
Tookie.
Williams, spread rapidly across Southern California. In response to their growing dominance and violent reputation, the Bloods emerged in the early 1970s as a confederation of smaller street gangs, rooted primarily in areas like Compton, Watts, and Inglewood.
These Crips and Bloods have been warring for 30-odd years. One of the longest-running wars in the history of this.
By the 1980s, this rivalry had escalated into a citywide turf war. Violent confrontations between the two groups became a grim routine, with drive-by shootings, retaliatory killings, and open-air drug markets turning many neighborhoods into high-risk zones, especially for young black men. Streets like Florence Avenue, Slauson Avenue, and Crenshaw Boulevard became known as both cultural landmarks and epicenters of gang conflict. The Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, facing rising homicide and assault rates, responded by forming specialized units such as CRASH, Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums. Though intended to suppress gang activity, these units were later criticized and eventually disbanded for using aggressive and, at times, unlawful tactics that worsened tensions between police and the community. By 1983, gang violence in Los Angeles had drawn national media attention. That same year, Michael Jackson, at just 24 years old, was ascending into global superstardom. His album Thriller, released in November 1982, had quickly dominated charts, radio waves, and television screens across America. Jackson, who spent his early years in Gary, Indiana, had long been aware of urban poverty and racial division. Now based in Los Angeles, he found himself surrounded by a very different city than the one portrayed on magazine covers. In early 1983, as Billie Jean and Beat It topped the charts, Jackson made a creative choice with unexpected cultural impact. For the music video of Beat It, directed by Bob Giraldi, Jackson approved the inclusion of several real street gang members and youth from local communities, alongside professional dancers and Broadway-trained actors. The casting was handled in part by Giraldi and choreographer Michael Peters, who were both committed to creating an authentic visual portrayal of street life. While Jackson never made a public statement directly linking the video to the Crips and Bloods rivalry, the decision to bring real gang-affiliated individuals into the video served as a rare moment of inclusion. The video's message.
And you know, I got that from the video. I got that vibe that that's what he was doing. I just didn't know it was real people, you know? They went from sea walking to moonwalking. My goodness. Wow.
Centered on rejecting violence and choosing peace, a theme underscored by its story of rival gang leaders who ultimately put down their weapons and walk away. Though it did not solve LA's gang crisis, the video offered a widely broadcast symbol of unity and nonviolence at a time when many Americans remained unaware or indifferent to the struggles of inner-city neighborhoods. Beat It became one of the most iconic videos of the era, not only for its choreography and production, but for its message. By blending entertainment with real-life issues, Jackson helped bring visibility to a crisis that many preferred to ignore. It was a moment where pop culture briefly intersected with the realities of urban America and where music, film, and street life found a shared narrative. Chapter 2. Beat It, a Studio Peace Summit. Following the unprecedented global success of Thriller, released in November 1982, Michael Jackson set his sights on delivering not just hit records, but cultural statements. Among the standout tracks was Beat It, a genre-blending anthem that fused rock and pop with a clear anti-violence message. For the music video, Jackson envisioned something different, something real. Rather than hiring only professional dancers or actors, he wanted to involve individuals who understood the subject matter firsthand.
If I get them, would you film them? I said, absolutely, Michael, as long as there's enough cops there, I'll be fine.
Jackson brought on Bob Giraldi, a commercial director from Paterson, New Jersey, whose work was known for its urban edge. Giraldi's upbringing around East Coast street life informed his approach to the project, but it was Jackson's idea to include real gang-affiliated youth, many with ties to Los Angeles street life, that gave the shoot an unprecedented authenticity.
So he gets them. And so it's the first day of shooting Beat It, and it's in a warehouse in downtown, as history shows. It's in a warehouse in downtown East LA. Very tough.
Filming took place in March 1983 in Skid Row, downtown Los Angeles, especially around East 5th Street, a location known for its grit and vulnerability. The goal was not only realism, but resonance. Jackson and his team coordinated informally with local contacts to recruit individuals from various neighborhoods, some with affiliations to LA street gangs. The production budget reportedly reached $150,000, a considerable sum for a music video at the time. CBS Records initially refused to cover the cost, prompting Jackson to personally fund it. Despite the risks, the production moved forward. According to Bob Giraldi, tensions were palpable on set. Around 50 to 80 individuals with street ties were present, some watching, others participating. In interviews, Giraldi recalled a moment when hostility nearly broke out. Rather than escalating the situation or calling in security, Jackson reportedly asked for the music to be turned up and began dancing on set. The shift in energy was immediate, Giraldi said. The crowd, previously unsettled, became still. They stood like referees, he later described, neutral, watching, and quietly absorbing the moment. Whether mythologized or not, that turning point underscored Jackson's rare ability to command respect without force. The video's theme that walking away from violence was stronger than giving in carried extra weight in that setting. Jackson, deeply committed to community uplift, was not perceived as a celebrity intruding, but as someone using his platform for purpose. Some of the street-affiliated extras began to mingle with the dancers, not as choreographed participants, but as witnesses and contributors to the atmosphere. The line between actor and reality blurred. The video storyline, a confrontation that turns into a symbolic dance-off, mirrored the dynamic playing out behind the camera. For a few hours, traditional rivals stood side by side, part of a shared cultural moment. The final scene, a stylized knife fight that gives way to rhythmic movement, was infused with a tension and rawness that came from more than acting. It came from lived experience. When Beat It premiered on MTV on March 31st, 1983, it was more than just a chart-topping video. It was a visual statement that shone a light on inner-city struggles while offering an alternative vision. Bob Giraldi would later describe it as the most dangerous and most beautiful shoot of his career. For Jackson, the video became a form of activism, showing that art could briefly override division. While it did not end gang violence in Los Angeles, it created dialogue, earned respect from those involved, and stood as one of the few cultural moments where music brought sworn enemies into the same room without bloodshed. The legacy of Beat It lies not just in its success, but in its courage to depict conflict truthfully and to invite even the most unlikely people into the healing power of performance. Chapter 3. Respect, not recruitment.
He definitively said that Michael Jackson was a Crip.
I don't know if he was being serious, but you seem serious.
DJ Quick, what
was
did
Michael
you say?
Jackson ever a member of the Crips or any street gang? The answer is no. There is no police report, FBI file, court record, credible biography, or personal interview that confirms or even seriously suggests gang affiliation. Jackson was not involved in gang life, nor did he ever claim such ties. What set him apart wasn't street credibility in the traditional sense, it was his unmatched ability to earn respect through cultural influence, quiet outreach, and humanitarian acts. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Jackson used his platform to reach young people in underserved, violence-affected neighborhoods. This included inviting youth, sometimes from gang-heavy areas, to attend his concerts, offering VIP access, backstage passes, transportation, and signed memorabilia. Many of these efforts were not widely publicized, but they were well documented through fan reports, community stories, and local press coverage. He believed in music not just as performance, but as a bridge to foster unity in communities divided by poverty, race, and violence. Over the years, Jackson's posture toward gang culture became the subject of folklore and comedy, particularly in hip-hop and social media circles. Comedians like DC Young Fly, Carlos Miller, and Chico Bean from the 85th South Show have joked about Jackson possibly being a Crip, referencing photos where he wore navy or royal blue outfits. These routines were always delivered with comedic intent, never as claims of fact. On platforms like YouTube and TikTok, fan-made compilations playfully explore this theme, often exaggerating Jackson's fashion choices for humor. Even veteran rapper DJ Quick once remarked half-jokingly that Michael Jackson had Crip energy, attributing it to his calm presence, stylish precision, and silent confidence. These comments were made with admiration and humor, not as literal assertions. Jackson's cool demeanor, unmatched global influence, and non-confrontational presence made him feel untouchable, but never because of gang ties.
Look at Michael Jackson. He got all these gangbangers behind him, and they don't f with him.
A more grounded reference comes from the late Eazy-E of NWA, who recalled encountering Jackson backstage in Detroit around 1989. In interviews and published biographies, Eazy-E acknowledged that Jackson never had to check in, a term in gang culture that refers to announcing yourself to local sets for safe movement. Jackson's mere presence was respected. His aura, artistry, and integrity granted him a pass that transcended the rules others were bound by. The truth is clear. Michael Jackson was never affiliated with gangs. No official documentation, arrest history, or credible testimony ever links him to the Crips, Bloods, or any other street organization. Yet in a city like Los Angeles, where alliances were often defined by color and code, Jackson entered and exited even the most sensitive environments without resistance. Not because he flashed signs or claimed a set, but because his music, character, and message were enough. His style may have inspired playful speculation, but the respect he earned was real, and it was built not on affiliation, but on impact. Chapter 4. When industry...
I'll tell you this, Michael Jackson was so huge that if it had came out that he had been shot or something by Crips or Bloods, I feel like the whole black community especially would turn against gang violence. Like, y'all took out Michael Jackson? Like, I'm telling you. That's how huge he was. Yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was. Like, you good over here, Mike. You know? Yeah. I was just trying to think about that. Like, if that had ever happened when he was alive, like...
meets street tactics. Michael Jackson wasn't only respected in urban communities, he also claimed significant influence in the global music business. In August 1985, Jackson purchased ATV Music Publishing for approximately $47 to $47.5 million, acquiring rights to about 4,000 songs, including 251 Beatles tracks like Hey Jude, Yesterday, and Let It Be. This deal was orchestrated by his lawyer, John Branca, and ultimately made him one of the top music rights holders in the world. A decade later, in 1995, Jackson sold a 50% stake in ATV to Sony, creating the joint venture Sony ATV Music Publishing, a move widely praised as savvy and transformational. Fast forward to May 2007, Sony ATV, still 50% owned by Jackson, acquired Famous Music LLC from Viacom for roughly $370 million. The catalog included over 125,000 songs, featuring artists like Eminem, Beck, Shakira, and Bjork, notably including some of Eminem's biggest hits.
Stevie Wonder said that he was piling on and how really rude it was for someone who made his money from the community, as Eminem has, to now diss the community in this.
I've never met Mr. Eminem, and to have him, I've always admired him, and to have him do something like that.
Here's the twist. In 2004, Eminem's music video for Just Lose It mocked Jackson, referencing his Pepsi accident and facial changes. Jackson chose not to sue. Instead, in 2007, his stake in Sony ATV meant he indirectly owned part of Eminem's catalog. As Snopes confirms, Jackson gained partial ownership through the Sony ATV deal, not a full acquisition. Industry insiders have since described it as one of the most strategic countermoves in music history, transforming offense into influence. As one source put it, everyone said Eminem couldn't cross Michael, then MJ literally bought a piece of him. Though this exact quote appears in journalistic retellings, it reflects a broader sentiment on Reddit and in outlets like Boss Hunting. This chapter of Jackson's career caught attention not just in boardrooms but on the streets. Gangs recognized that MJ could maneuver corporate power as adeptly as he did cultural influence, and that kind of respect transcends intimidation. Chapter 5. Gangs, Culture, and Recognition. Street legends from the 1990s like Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. revered Michael Jackson's cultural impact. Tupac sampled MJ's vocals and frequently spoke of Thriller and Bad as benchmarks in his music. Biggie, too, regularly name-checked Jackson in his lyrics, framing him as a cultural staple in hip-hop circles. But this admiration extended beyond music. Street crews took note of Jackson's business savvy, too. When he emerged victorious in corporate rings, it amplified his cultural power. If MJ could outmaneuver industry elites on spreadsheets rather than with violence, that spoke volumes in neighborhoods where escape was rarely peaceful. Crips and Bloods around Los Angeles noticed too. Jackson bussed in dozens of gang-affiliated youth for a Beat It shoot and later distributed food, concert tickets, and signed gear. He didn't rally crowds with threats. He attracted them through generosity and symbol. In zones marked by turf lines and distrust, his actions were seen as gestures of respect and uplift. It became clear. Influence, not intimidation, earned authenticity. Chapter 6. He never checked in, and here's why. In gang culture, anyone entering rival territory usually must check in, wear colors, acknowledge power, or gain approval. But Michael Jackson never did. Why not? 1. Jackson never claimed gang allegiance or flaunted
Michael
colors.
Jackson.
His goal was always unity, never division. He was all about intentional peace. 2. He traveled with a disciplined entourage and kept public entry points secure. Circumstances he managed, minimizing risk. 3. Previous actions like bussing in youth or staging community benefiting events sent proof. 4. His fame and message transcended fanfare. He was viewed seriously amid entertainment and humanity. The result, Crips and Bloods paused when he arrived. No initiation needed, no turf battle begun. Instead, they observed. They maintained order. When the cameras rolled, rival sets were side by side, captured, collaborating on film. The shoot represented a powerful first moment, official production, real rivals, one shared cultural moment. Trust, not violence, led the way. Chapter 7. Networks that echo beyond gangs. Michael Jackson's influence wasn't split, it was holistic. On Wall Street, he was a mogul. On Crenshaw Boulevard, he was a unifier. In business, his 50% stake in Sony ATV reshaped global music publishing. This strategic acquisition granted him partial ownership of thousands of influential songs, including rights to the Beatles' catalog. The deal, arranged by attorney John Branca in 1995, merged Jackson's ATV holdings with Sony's catalog, creating a powerhouse that reflected Jackson's vision beyond music charts. He operated not just as an artist, but as a business architect. In 2007, Sony ATV, still half-owned by Jackson at the time, acquired Famous Music LLC from Viacom for approximately $370 million. This brought in rights to songs by Eminem, Shakira, and Beck, expanding Jackson's reach into modern music portfolios. In February 1997, during a history tour stop in Hawaii, Jackson arranged for undeserved youth and military families to attend his show. That same spirit was evident in Japan, where he visited Camp Zama to meet with children of American service members and engaged warmly with fans at Tokyo Disneyland. On August 29, 1993, he celebrated his 35th birthday by inviting 100 inner-city children to Neverland Ranch for a day of fun, food, and gifts. For street communities, these acts reflected the same values behind Beat It. The novelty wasn't that a superstar showed up, it was that Jackson gave back quietly and consistently. To neighborhoods scarred by disappointment, he embodied sincerity without spectacle. He connected executive suites and inner-city blocks with equal care. He showed that creative influence could produce tangible change. Resonance with both worlds required more than talent or visibility. It required consistent presence and personal integrity.
So look, all they needed to say is because it's Michael Jackson. That's why he didn't need to check in. But that gave me a lot of backstory, a lot of insight, especially with the whole fact that he used real gang members. I did not know that at all. You know, because when you see people dancing, you don't think gang member unless you see them crip walking or something like that. But really, really good video. But like I say, back in the day, you could tell from pictures, man, it's not the same as it used to be, because a lot of the gang members today just look like your average person going to school or something. You know, the pants we went from seeing them wearing baggy pants to tight pants. Like they got skinny jeans on. I'll just say this, for anybody out there who is touring, a tourist, and you want to come to LA, be careful when you're going on Melrose. And be careful when you see them dudes on those scooters, the ones you have to pay to ride, because these dudes are riding around in them things with sling bags. And a lot of times they got heaters in those things. And when I say heater, I ain't talking about something to keep you warm. You know, but they're rolling around and they're looking for people who have no street smarts, who aren't paying attention. You know, you go to other countries, you got to worry about getting pickpocketed, like people taking your wallet, you know, on the slick slide side without you knowing. Out here, you know, people put that thing to your face and be like, run me that wallet, run me that watch. You see videos of it all the time. But wow, I was today years old. Hey, appreciate you guys coming over and watching, man. Please like, share, comment below. Peace out.